Hey there, everyone. This is Chess Coach Aaron. How is everyone doing? All right, I'm here for another installment of a new series I've been doing, which is Chess Variations. Variations of chess using the chessboard and chess pieces, and sometimes many of the rules of the normal chess pieces and moves also of a normal chess game, but they get tweaked and changed. I love chess variants. I call these fun chess. Of course, I think regular chess is a lot of fun too, but I just happen to call this fun chess, meaning it's not as serious. Serious chess is a challenge to find the best move that you can find and play the best you can play. All these are fun games where it's not quite as, I guess, you don't take it quite the same way, basically. That's probably why I call it fun chess. Anyway, I've already done, video 1 was 3-check chess. Video 2 was chess 960. Today, video number 3 is going to be King of the Hill. You're using all the chess pieces and a normal chessboard and all the same normal movement rules, but you have a second way of winning. The normal way of winning with checkmate still applies, so if you get checkmate, you win. But the exact 4 squares of the middle of the board, the sweet center, as I like to call it, these 4 squares are actually now called the hill. This is, if you can imagine a flat map, they are in the middle and it's like a hill. If you guys have ever played King of the Hill, either in a park or, when I was younger, I used to play in a swimming pool where we'd have something that you could stand on while floating. And if you were standing on it, you were like king or queen of the hill if you want. But here it's called King of the Hill. And the new way to win is simply get a king, your king, to one of these 4 squares. But you have to get the king there safely. You can't, the same rules of chess apply. You can't move into check. You're not allowed to put your king into danger. And the same thing with King of the Hill. You're playing normal chess, but if you just get a king to one of these 4 squares, e4, e5, d4, d5, if you can get to one of these 4 squares safely, not in check, you also win. Game ends immediately. So you can create a lot of fun moments. It becomes an idea of, since it's kind of a race, it becomes an idea of when should you send your king to that center. Now notice, and let's talk some advice here. If someone moves out both knights, you're already covering all 4 squares of what I call the sweet center, or in this case, the hill. This black king could not go anywhere. It could go around close 1 square away from the winning squares, but it's not allowed to go to the hill yet. The hill is totally protected. It's not until, let's say here, this king wants to go to e5 and win the game. It can't because you're not allowed to move and check, but if it's black's turn, if they can remove the knight and next turn go there. Now notice, white does not have time to capture back on f3. They have to make sure that the black king doesn't just play to e5 and win the game. So they'll play, let's say, d4, covering the square. And now again, the king can only move 1 square in chess, right? But it can't go forward to these 3 squares, c5, d5, and e5. And d5 and e5 would be winning moves if the king could. So again, how does black accomplish getting their king there safely? Well, maybe now they play something like c5. They're trying to get white to take here with a double check. But then, if white did that, the king would just go into the sweet center. Doesn't matter about material. All this stuff could be lost for black, but if they get their king in the sweet center safe in this particular, position, King of the Hill, I win, game over. And the idea, again, of when to have your king rush forward. You have to really take it seriously in terms of, should I start running for those 4 squares of my king? Is it safe to do it? That is the question. All right, I have 3 games that I played on, again, my favorite website, Lichess, Lichess, Lichess. One of my favorite things about Lichess is that they have a lot of these chess variants, these fun games of chess on their website also. So obviously most people play regular chess on their website. Of course, they play tournaments or individual games, but you can do the same thing with many of these fun games of chess. They also have King of the Hill. And I played 3 games, I'll show all 3, and they were 3-minute blitz games. But for the most part, like I'm saying, don't run, this is my advice, don't run for that center position until you feel like your king can get there kind of safely. The second you put your king out too early, you're probably going to start getting your king in trouble. But it does make for very exciting games when you start to run there and they start to run there, and who's going to get to center? Can you stop the other person? Of course, it makes for exciting games. But one of the games that I'm going to show you, because I only did 3 in a row real quick, it was just 2 seconds. It was just like 3 or 4 moves, if I remember correctly. But let's get to these games. Hold on one moment. Game number 1 coming up. All right. Game number 1, and I'll try not to talk too much during these games. I just want to run through them real quick, because again, in 3-minute blitz, anything can kind of happen. The games can be very sloppy, especially when you're playing, not normal chess. You're playing a variant which has different rules. So sometimes it takes a moment to remember, all right, this is actually what I'm trying to do. What's cool is Lichess has these 4 squares in the center kind of marked differently. You see how they kind of stand out? So this is the hill, and if you get a king there safely, you automatically win. All right, so this was actually my first game of this on the site, and let's run through some moves. Just trying to control these 4 squares, the sweet center. I'm trying to control it to make sure my opponent can't just run up with their king easily. And some people think, from what I've heard, I've talked to a few people about this game, I love it myself, that they think you shouldn't castle, that you shouldn't. I don't know. I'm still, in most of these games, going to castle if I feel like the action's in the center. And here, I'm just trying to take over the center. Small pawn move, c3, supports large pawn move, d4. Because I figure if I control that sweet center, it's impossible for them to get their king in it and win the game. And then maybe my king can follow up afterwards if I expand forward. If I can play d4 and then later e5, d5, and I have d4 and e4 available for my king, I can run. Notice my opponent, they made an early run, move forward with the king. It makes it exciting, but you got to keep your king safe. So I'm trying to keep an eye out. I'm trying to keep guard in my mind of these 2 squares. I don't want to let their king get here easily, right? Or if they trade this, if they trade their e pawn away, I don't want them to get to e5 easily. I have to keep my eyes open. And again, material is not quite as important. Notice they didn't save their bishop. All right, doesn't mean the game is over, because again, it doesn't matter about material if you get your king to the center. But right now I have d5 covered. Their own pawn is in the way for their king to get to e5. So I'm feeling confident that their king's not going to easily get to the sweet center. And at this point, I realized castle, get my king to the corner, and their king is kind of not in a safe position. I figured, let me just try to get checkmate, right? All right. Let's see what happened. And notice right now I'm already threatening queen takes on f7 with this bishop. This is my battery. And, you have to make decisions of how you're going to play this. Again, I could try to get a king to the center, but it's tough. All the squares are still kind of covered by their pieces. It's not like my king, if I didn't castle, could get there easily anyway. So I figured, hey, their king's not safe. Let me just try to get checkmate. So this makes a lot of sense. All right, let's see what they did. And they took on c5. I can't even tell you why I didn't say queen takes f7. I'm shocked I didn't. I actually took the knight. Boop. And that happens to everyone. Let's go to analysis board too, because they do have analysis for this. And let's take a quick look here, and let's see why I didn't take check. King comes up, and do we actually have a winning move here? Checkmating move. Well, I don't see a checkmating move. My queen cannot run back in. That's not a checkmate, because the king could run here. Besides which, the knight could capture my queen. It's pinned to another queen, so queen versus queen is just a trade. I could move a rook over, and say check, but they could always block, so still not checkmate. And notice, if I'm not careful, and again, you got to try to be careful, you start to open up spots that if you're not paying attention, they could actually sneak in and get that king to the hill and just win. So you kind of have to be careful. All right, but I took on c6. Maybe I should take f7 check. All right. Maybe I just didn't see it being checkmate, so that's why I did it. Yeah, that's it. All right, queen up, queen back. And again, just in case you're wondering, they can't capture now. We just talked about a moment ago because it's pinned to the king. This is an absolute pin. Can't move their king. And now I'm up a lot of material. And I figured as long as their king cannot get to the to the center squares, I can win. I'm just up a lot of material. I just have to make sure I don't let a quick king of the hill moment happen. And you can see here that with this move that I run back with this knight, and I'm up 2 knights now, I keep everything guarded, and there's nowhere for the king to go forward and win the game. And since I'm up a lot of material, I can kind of take my time now and just finish the game. There weren't many moves, because after this this pawn move that they played, and I put my rook over on b7, my opponent actually resigned. Even though they had like over a minute left. I don't know if you guys can see at the top. Over a minute here. Let me see if I can adjust this real quick while the video is on. And there we go. So they still had over a minute in a 3-minute game. So I don't know why they gave up. You can still get to the King of the Hill. But all right, so you can see one game. I got 2 more games to show you, but one is lightning quick. On to game 2. Hold on. All right, game 2. And my opponent didn't see a simple, I guess, pin in the middle of the game. They really weren't paying attention. They were really thinking about just running their king to the center. And notice, you can try to do this early in a game, but you have to be careful, because if you bring your king out early and it's not like a safe path, meaning you don't have it all protected so the king can just kind of go along, I mean, it's easy to stop. My knight's going to f6 and c6 right away would cover the sweet center. So in just 2 moves, I'm already covering all 4 squares just with the 2 knights alone. That doesn't include even the pawns going forward and covering squares. So you have to, it's fun. Get the king to the center, get it to the hill, but you still got to be a little careful about it. So I'm just making my bishop happy, putting a pawn in the center, controlling e4. So that's the closest square for the king for the moment. And they're running with their king. All right, it's exciting. And now I'm trying to control both d4 and e4 early, making sure that the king can't go and win, right? I already have control of both of these squares. And, I'll bring more pieces out as I have to. Knight and bishop, my other knight, just to help cover these squares. Here, though, again, not sure what white's doing. Yes, they made this bishop happy, but if you're not going to make your king safe and bring your pieces out, that still applies even in King of the Hill. Your other option is to try to get your king there quick, but I don't see this working so easily against a decent player. And even though I don't play a lot of King of the Hill, I'm still a decent player. All right, I'm bringing out my pieces, control the center, then move the king again. I really have to pay attention. If my pawn on d5 went forward, for example, they would win immediately. Immediately. So I couldn't do something like that unless I just want to lose the game. So they're only 1 move away from winning if I played bad. But notice, I want to make sure they played a small pawn move, right? With d3, they're probably going to play e4 and then try to trade, and then the king will follow to win. Just got to make sure it doesn't happen. So I'm piling up again on what I thought was the critical square. Now, why are they playing forward? I have no idea, because this is what I'm talking about with the pin. It's hard to see if you're not looking for it right away, but queen versus queen. Beginning of the game, neither queen has moved. They face off on each other. So the second I capture, they can't or shouldn't capture back with their d-pawn, because they're just leaving the queen hanging. And yes, does it really matter if the queen's hanging? Well, if they're just going to get to the center and win the game, then it absolutely doesn't. But if you're going to give up a free queen and they don't win right away, the other person's got a free queen, and with the queen, it's a lot easier to keep the king away from the sweet center. Get away from that hill. Get away! All right, so they didn't pay attention to this pin. They play in the center. I take with check. Okay, they can't take with the king. It's protected. That's against the rules. They shouldn't take with their d-pawn because they'll lose the queen, and it's exactly what they did. I capture with check, by the way, and here they resign. Obviously, they didn't mean to lose their queen. They just didn't pay attention. They're playing very fast, and I guess trying to get their king to the center. King of the Hill. All right, the third game was a lot better. So let's get to that game. Bear with me one moment. All right, so this King of the Hill game, I think, was a great game, win or lose. I actually won on time, but I almost ran out of time myself. I was down to like 1 second and some change left myself when my opponent ran out of time. And at the end, it was just a scramble. And I was just trying to make sure I keep the opponent away from the center. They wanted the king to get to the center. And again, with only 3 minutes, it's not a lot of time. It adds an extra dimension. It's kind of chaos at the end. So you got to manage your time. That's part of it. Now, you can obviously play these games online with a lot slower time control, like 10 minutes or 5 minutes or 7 minutes or 45 minutes even. You really can make up any time control and probably find someone to play with you. It's great. And again, King of the Hill, which means you have a second way to win. All the normal rules apply of chess, including checkmate to win. But if you can get your king to the hill, to one of these 4 squares safely, you win. All right, this was a great game, and let's see how it went. And here I'm playing like I'm controlling the center normally, like a regular chess game. And my opponent this time did not do one of those early mad dashes with the king. So I still feel like I want to take over the center. But even in King of the Hill, I'm trying to get my king safe for just a little bit when I take over the center. And once I control those 4 squares, then maybe I run with my king, right? King of the Hill, and then if I can control, then I run with my king. But first I want to get control of it. I don't have control yet, but I'm threatening it, right? I don't mind if they take my pawn because I'll put my rook over to e1, right? So if I castle and they played d7, oh, let's go to analysis board, sorry. And here, they actually, I castled, what they do, they played d6, right? But let's say they do something like capturing the pawn, remove one of my guys in the center. All right, here I could move my rook over. Boom. It's actually not a good move just yet. Let's see, they have the bishop and their knight aiming at that pawn, so I do need to go forward, cutting off this bishop, and then my rook going over could be a good fight. Let's see. Now notice it's saying double question marks, and that's because in normal chess, I would play here first. I would take over the center first. But in King of the Hill, I decided to castle first. All right, maybe it's not so good to do that first. I don't know. Anyway, so they played d6. And let's see, I took over the center as much as I could. They fought me on that. I'm attacking their bishop right now, but now I have my 2 pawns controlling everything. Notice I'm trying to, again, just control that center. I think that's extra important in King of the Hill, even more than regular chess. And now, since their king is not castled, and now I'm thinking regular chess maybe a little bit, since their king is not castled, let's maybe go get that king. The king's still in the center. If you control the center, and your pieces are happier, and right now I think I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and I do love doing arrows. Even the rook is happy, and I haven't brought out my knight yet, so soon it can be happy, but I have all these happy choices, all these happy pieces, including these amazing pawns which can go forward in the center and kind of going right into black's position. All this while their king is still in the center, so I figured let's go get that king. Maybe I should just develop, maybe. But let's go get that king. And here, right, when I go forward, I'm making a threat, so they kind of have to deal with it if they don't want to lose material. Again, material's not as important in this, but if your king's not close to the center, it's still important. You don't want to be with a smaller army. And I knew I was going to be able to play queen b3 anytime I wanted. But I want to open up these lines to get the king. So my pawn's in the way or their pawn's in the way. And once they took, then I'm doing this with a threat, I thought, of their f-pawn. And if they go out of the way, like by castling, now I'll take this back with tempo by attacking their knight. And notice here, when they captured, boop, if I capture back, well, that results in a queen trade. So that's the reason why I didn't capture back right away. I just don't want the queens to come off. Queens are a great way of both attacking and controlling that center as needed. So here, I jump out of the way first, and I'll take back in a moment, because I figured I'm taking the f-pawn with check. Now, is it so important that kings don't castle? Like, if I say check here and the king goes forward, actually, it's not as important as regular chess, because this king is still close to the hill, and you want it to be kind of around here, hanging around, right? All right, let's run through. There's a whole bunch of moves. I think there's like 38 moves long, and we're only on like move 9. So I'm just going to fly through a bunch of this. And I'm not saying a lot of this is good stuff. Again, I just wanted to keep control of that sweet center. Wanted to make sure I didn't lose control of it. Here, and you can tell right away, I was playing fast. Obviously, it's a fast game, 3-minute blitz, but I was playing too fast and didn't take a moment. I have this b-pawn with check. Whoops, b-pawn with check. Why am I not taking with check? Well, I would have to be careful, because again, they're only 1 move away from victory. But right now, this bishop is pinned, and the knight here on c3 controls that square. So they can't capture the knight and win, because that would put their king in danger. So there is that, but I still would have to be very careful. If this pawn goes forward, they could win this way. And by the way, these type of moves are very strong in this type of chess. He just played king here, so I'll say it's white's turn. Let's just make any move just for fun, just to show you. Suddenly, boom, pawn goes forward. And yeah, you're not worried about losing material because you have an open square in the center. And if I capture, well, black just wins. You know, this is they would be king of the hill. This is how you actually win a lot in these type of games. You get your king close and you open up one of these spots. So I did have to be careful. Still, probably queen takes is probably still the smartest move. I did check instead with, let's see, I did check instead with queen a3. And I didn't want to trade queens, just to let you know. I wanted to keep control of the center, but I wanted to keep queens on. You'll see I keep trying to avoid it. All right, let's run through a couple more of these moves. Let's get a little bit closer, and you can see my control of the center in a couple more moves, they've kind of lost the center. And with their king hanging out in the center, trying to perhaps get to that hill, and my control of the center has made it very tough for them to keep their pieces and pawns in the center, buffering the king so the king can go forward. I've removed everything, basically. So as long as my rooks and queens can keep their king away from the center, I'm doing pretty good. Now the question is, do I ever feel comfortable for me to run with my king? And not yet, because they have queen, rook, and knight all guarding this area. Maybe at some point, yes, but not yet. And here, I was actually thinking I'd be able to, to play, where are we? Rook over to c4. Oh, and I pin your queen, which is nice in regular chess. But just like that, you also don't want to be checkmated. So yes, I did see that, thankfully, and I did play instead h3. Gave myself a little breathing room, so if they play rook e1 check, I have an escape hatch. A way to jump out of the way. All right, let's get to the end of this game real quick. And you can see, as we're running down on time, things start to get a little more hectic, and we're not playing nearly as good moves. And that's the nature of speed chess, blitz chess. And I'm just trying to keep their king away from these squares, away from the squares, so he can't jump in the center. And here, Ashley lost on time. So white went down to 0 time. I had 1.7 seconds left. So either person could have won on time, and I was just playing very quickly to keep their king away from that sweet center, right? Notice their king is right next to the sweet center. I'm just trying to make sure to keep their king away from actually getting on these 4 squares. They kept coming close with their king, 1 square away. Notice I moved here to f3 to cover e4, because kings are not allowed to be next to kings, even in this game. All right, so I hope you guys try some King of the Hill. It's a lot of fun. 2 ways to win. The second way is just get your king to that sweet center, to those 4 squares in the middle. And, you know, it's a nice break from regular chess. And it does help you practice controlling that sweet center, which is really important in chess. And again, I think every fun variation of chess helps you get better at regular chess. All right, let's get our quick joke in and we'll finish up this video. And some of you may have heard this before, but I haven't used it in a while. I love this joke, and it is, why did the pony not want to sing at the birthday party? And now I do know that ponies love to go to birthday parties, especially chess birthday parties. They get to play a lot of chess with their neighbors. All right, so, but why did the pony not want to sing at the birthday party? Oh, because it was a little horse. Pony, little horse, little horse. All right, this is Chess Coach Aaron. Hope you enjoy this variation of chess. Have fun. Peace.